All right, hello and welcome to another video. If you are looking to increase the girth of your upper arms, develop an absolute sick, wicked, nasty set of sleeve-busting pythons, you've came to the right place. Trying to figure out what is the perfect amount of reps to do. I hate to break it to you, but there is no perfect number. And what's going to be more useful is to vary the reps that you're doing. So let's say you have one arm day where you're supersetting your tris and your bis, because that is hands down the best way to do it. You do your dumbbell overhead tricep extensions. And let's say you take the 50-pound dumbbell, use a normal tempo, not fast, not slow, 1 to 2 seconds down, 1 second up, something like that. And you bust out 12 reps, all right? Pushing to failure. You failed on the 13th rep. And then you're going to rest like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that, and go do the same thing with your curls, whatever it may be. Let's say standing hammer curls. You bust out 13 reps with the 30-pound dumbbells. That's a great structure of a workout, and you're going to track that. Say, this is what I do with this weight. I'm going to log it, remember it, put it in your phone, whatever. The next workout, you go, you know what? Let's increase the weight a little bit and use a little bit of a faster tempo. So let's pick up that 70-pound dumbbell and let's horse cock it around a little bit. Shout out to Eric Bugenhagen. And I'm going to say get 12 reps with the 70 because I'm really pushing with some intensity, some explosiveness. Same thing with the dumbbells for the standing hammers. I go up to the 35s and I bust out 12. All right, keep track of that. The next time I come in, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna go down to the 50 and I'm gonna use a slow tempo. And let's say I only get 11 or 12 reps with the 50 because now I'm going slow and controlled. All right, you do your 3-minute rest. Curls, you go down to the 25s. Same thing, 11 reps, hit failure. Now I'm going slow and controlled. All right, I'm tracking all of this. I have a rough idea where I am the whole time, but there's some variance. There's a bandwidth. And then the next time I come in, I'm going to drop the weight even further. I'm going to go down to the 40-pounder. I'm going to use kind of an explosive tempo, and I'm going to get like 23 reps. I'm going to fail on the 24th rep, and then I'm going to go, rest 2 minutes. Let's bring the rest time down a little bit. Let's say instead of 3 minutes, I'm just going to do 1.5 to 2 minutes. Same thing with the curls. I'm going to pick up the 20s, and I'm just going to pump them out for 22 reps. Hit failure on the 23rd rep. And then I'm going to rest my 2 minutes. I'm going to repeat that 7 times. Roughly keeping track of the weight that I'm doing. All right, so you've got the variety in there. And then the next workout, you go back to what you did the first time. You pick up that 60-pounder, you use a normal tempo, and you're like, last time I did this shit, I got 10 reps. I'm going for 11. And then same thing with the standing curls. We pick those 30s back up for hammers. And you got 10 last time, so I'm going for 11, God damn it. I'm going to do my 3-minute rest periods. I'm going to keep track of that. Playing around with the rep range, the weight, the tempo, the rest time in between is extremely advantageous because a couple of reasons. One, it gives you some variety in the stimulus that you put on your muscles, which I've seen to be very effective. Your muscles adapt to the stress that you put on them. And although you want this stress to be more significant over time, i.e. trying to add more reps, trying to add more weight, potentially adding more sets, potentially training more often, you're trying to make this cocktail of muscle stimulus be a little bit more potent, a little bit stronger. You also want some variety in it. And what's the tendency is for all of us to fall into, and I've fallen into this over and over and over again. And every time I get stuck doing the same thing, exact same thing for too long because it worked in the beginning, just doing something slightly different always kind of ignites a little bit of extra progress. But it's a balance because you don't want to just go full chaos, and because then you have no idea how you're progressing. So you can see how I outlined it, that if you track your workouts, you'll roughly know over time, keeping the exercises somewhat consistent, you'll know that like this weight with a normal tempo is going to land me in this rep range. So I know what reps I need to go for to try to progress. A higher weight with a more explosive tempo is going to land me in this rep range. So I know what type of rep I need to aim for to progress. I think it is important that you should go in there trying to chase numbers. It's not the end all be all. You don't need to get upset if you have a, reduction in the numbers or if you hit the same number. Okay, it's a slow, steady slog. But you should always go in there with the intention to try to do more than you did before, while giving yourself some freedom to mix up the rep ranges, the weight, the tempo, and the rest times. That way it doesn't become as stale and stagnant. And that way, although you're still chasing progress and tracking it, even though you're in a bandwidth. Like in that example I use, like for the dumbbell overhead extensions, you're using anywhere from 40 to 70 pounds. And you're getting anywhere from 6 to 25 reps, depending on how you're structuring the session in any given day. So you know that bandwidth. And you're going to try to increase that over time. So like a year into the future, you know, that lower poundage is like 50. You're in the 50 to 80 pound range, where you use at the lowest a 50-pound dumbbell, at the highest an 80-pound dumbbell, and you let the reps vary based on the tempo and the rest time in between and what type of weight you're trying to move in any given session. Now, this may sound a little bit confusing, and if you're getting overwhelmed and you're like, how do I track this? How do I do it? Sign up for the ARM program, man. It is hands down the best resource on the internet for growing your arms. It's everything that I've been through and learned to grow these freaking sausagey, massive, bulbous pipe daddies hanging out the sides of my shirt. So if you are serious about growing your arms, it will help to give you a little bit more structure, a little bit more foundation of how to track and how to make adjustments, because I program these things into the ARM programs. There's a variety of them to help you force you to make small adjustments in your training so that you have that variety stimulus whilst also having enough structure and consistency to track so that you know what number you're trying to chase each time you go in there. If you don't pay attention to anything and you just go willy-nilly, I think you give up the benefit of tracking something so that you can consciously channel your aggression and intensity to try to get one extra rep each time. If you don't even know what rep you did, or you're changing the exercises around this, that, and everything, you don't even know. And there's no metric of progress then. You're just like, go hard, but it's like, how hard? I don't really know. And on a day where you're feeling a little bit extra pussified, you're probably not going to go as hard as you could. Whereas if you know that rep that I hit previously, if I come short of that, I want to know that I came short of it. Or if I exceed it, I want to know so that I can track what I'm doing and where I'm headed. All right. And what you want to avoid, the point I'm trying to make, is that falling into any pattern of too much rigidity and doing the same thing over and over leads to a plateau inevitably. Okay. There's this really tight relationship between the stimulus that you put on your muscles, even if it initially is a productive stimulus or optimal way of training, it will eventually lead to a plateau as your body catches up. The stimulus that you put on it is ahead of what your body can currently do. This is your body's current capacity for output or strength, muscle in your arms. And then you say, I'm going to do this amount of workload. And your body's like, oh shit, motherfucker, we better start layering on more muscle to build up to be able to handle that. But then you just keep doing that same workload over and over and over. 2 months down the line, your body's slowly caught up. And now it's like, we got this motherfucker. We done this workout 40 times already. This ain't shit. And you need to go, okay, motherfucker. I don't know why I'm talking like this all of a sudden. We're going to up it again. But having some variability in the parameters you use to increase that stimulus makes it easier to track your progress while also having some change so that you're not so dependent on doing the exact same weight for the exact same reps with the exact same rest time, with the exact same exercise, the exact same tempo every single session. That can get really stale, and it can also be defeating, and that's why people abandon progressive overload. So this is a way where you can have the variability while also tracking, okay? Makes sense? And that's how you get a massive set of freaking juicy pipe daddies. That's one thing. That will help you. And the last little note that I wanted to add, which doesn't have anything to do with training, but just something that's been on my mind. You guys are probably like, you are just a juicified freaking big arm having dude. We don't care what you have to say about life, but I'm going to feed it to you anyways. I think something that most of us miss in life is to take a breath and remember that what other people are doing with their views, with their direction in life, with their actions, 99% of the time doesn't affect us. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's so common to get upset or worked up when people are doing something different than the way that you would do it, whether it's working out or anything else. You see it in all walks and aspects of life. And it only makes your life worse. It only drains your energy, which you have a limited amount of. And you're going to benefit way more by redirecting that into just focusing on enhancing the things that you like to do, that you want to do. It's extremely common, I'm guilty of this too, to project what you would do onto somebody else and to kind of get upset at them or criticize them for not taking the same course of action that you would. And where this comes from is fear and insecurity, because I think there is a deep biological or evolutionary DNA in us where people doing different shit and living differently and having different beliefs used to be a significant threat. That's a different tribe. That's a different group of people that think totally differently. We probably need to square off on them to fight for the little bit of resources that we have on this square little patch of land that we're surviving on as primitive peoples. And, thousands of years of our evolution as humans existed like this. Only the last several hundred years did things start to change. And now we're in a world where somebody else's idea isn't a threat to you in the material sense 99% of the time. Yet, it's so common for the majority of us to react as if that person's idea is a threat to us. So it's coming from a sense of fear and a lack of security in yourself. And all of us would benefit from taking a minute to just take a breath and go, that's not what I would do. That's not at all how I would think. But I'm sure they have their own reasons and beliefs. And I bet if I tried to understand them, I would actually get it. And therefore, it's probably not worth me getting so worked up. Most people just respond out of fear and attack mode. And, you're doing something different than I would do. That's not what I would do with my life. And we all think we're doing the best thing or the smartest thing. Nobody's consciously like, I'm going to do this to have the worst life possible because that's my strategy. But if you just take a minute to just get a couple good inhales and exhales out and just be like, whatever, man. Let that person live the way they want. It does not affect me. And if I care that much that I'm focusing on it, then, and it means that much to me for some goddamn reason, how somebody else is choosing to live their life, then why don't I try to understand them? Because I'm sure they have good reasons. And that's the way it always is. It's just ignorance from a lack of information and familiarity. You just don't understand or know the person. So what they're doing on the surface doesn't make any sense. So you just react out of fear because you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure, and it's not a high priority to understand people and have empathy to just let them live their life because it used to be a threat, but now it's really not. And the reason I think this is important is because you look around our world, after watching this, you may agree with me or disagree, but start looking at your life and the way people in your life or the media that you consume online or whatever, and you see it's everywhere. And I think it's such like a negative drag on your own life, the progress you're trying to make or just living, man. It just sucks so much of your positive energy getting so caught up in how other people are living wrong. It's like, if you know how to live so right, just live it then. Just be like, I don't know why those people do that. That's crazy. I'm going to put my energy into just doing the things that I'm so certain are the way to live and not concern yourself with them. Instead of pissing away your most valuable resource, which is the time that you have, spending it fixating and getting all bubbled up and negative about how somebody else is living their life differently than the way that you would, whether it's different political views, different religious views, different views around working out, different views around nutrition, different views around education, whatever it is. Most of the fucking time, their views being different do not affect you. And it doesn't mean you need to be completely removed and you shouldn't get involved in these discussions and debates or investing and why does that person think that? But I'm telling you, man, I think most of us will regret it when we're older and go, wow, why didn't I just take a minute and realize that it's really not affecting me materially in my physical environment for that person to think and exist like that. So why am I invested in their life, sucking the life energy I have for myself out and pouring it into this other person, getting focused, or this other group of people who think completely differently? That's my ramble. And I think it's from because if you think about it that way, it doesn't make sense, right? It's like you're safe, you're secure. Why are you responding with fear? Come to the plate and just be like, I'm good. You can live totally, it makes no difference to me. And then it could be a positive thing to be curious and to just be like, that's interesting. Why did you come to that decision? And why are you choosing to do that with your life? That's not what I would do. It doesn't make sense to me why you do it. I'm just curious why you would, instead of being like, why the frick would you do, you're so wrong, and XYZ reason why you can't think like that and have those beliefs, and that's so backwards, not how life works, I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs to tell you how life works, with the end goal being that then you see life the same way as me, and somehow I get more fulfillment out of my life because of that. When you don't. You scream at the top of your lungs for 40 years to get people to see life the same way you do. Even if they did, it's like, what changes, man? Like, what? That's just it's a bottomless pit to pour your energy into that doesn't actually help you focus on doing things that improve your life. So, and the reality is 90% of those people that you're screaming at, that nobody wants to be forcefully told to make different decisions and live differently. You know, it's like most people are just going to keep doing what they want. Maybe you can help them to see things differently or see them the way that you see it. And sometimes there is a lack of information or knowledge. And then when you expose people to it, they realize that and they may change their trajectory over time. But even then, it's like, why do you care? You know, are you really that altruistic that you're just like, oh my God, I care so much? You don't give a fuck, man. You're just responding to how their actions make you feel about your own reality and the decisions that you made and what you would do. You're not like top priority, I really care about that person and what they're doing in their life. You're like top priority, oh God, that feels like a threat because that's not what I would do and that's so freaking different and I feel kind of attacked because they're challenging my beliefs and the way that I would live. And I don't feel secure enough and that confident enough to just sit in the contrast of having multiple different people with different beliefs. So I need to attack to try to extinguish them because this used to be a threat to me and my group of people's existence, because other people coming into our territory that have different beliefs and different ways of life, we're going to inevitably oppose each other and probably compete for the same resources and kill each other off, and whoever is stronger survives and the people who are weaker die off, and whatever. You get my point. So in your life, as you go about pursuing the most holy of life goals and directions to get an absolutely ridiculously massive set of bulbous swollen pythons, to stop and remember that anytime you get too worked up in people thinking and believing and living differently than you, that's only draining you of your positive life energy, which you have a limited amount of, and it's only making your life worse. So just sit there and take a couple deep breaths and go, is it actually materially making my life worse that these people that I'm enraged at, the fact that they think differently or they believe in a different political leader or they believe in a different way of working out or a different way of living, different prioritizing different things, is that actually impacting me? Oh shit, it's not at all. And the only way it's impacting me is in my mind because I'm focusing on it. Oh fuck. So now instead of being so attacked and hurt and upset and angry about this other person or these other people, well, I can just take that energy and put it towards something that I enjoy doing and productive energy in my life, whatever that looks like for you. Wow. God, that would be such an improvement for my life. And then if a lot of people started doing that, then there'd be such a drain of negative, toxic fucking hate towards each other. And I would just invest in myself and then feel better about where I'm at, so it doesn't bother me that these people are living differently. And then I have the ability to operate with a foundation and a groundedness to just be curious, to try to understand. That's my advice for the day. I am not a guru. I am not perfect, but this is something that I have found that I've been guilty of throughout my life and have started to improve on, and it's improved my life immensely. I was watching this show 1883 by Taylor Sheridan, who is a freaking creative genius. The writing is incredible. And a quote that stood out to me a lot was that the meanest thing you could do to yourself is to hate somebody else. Let that sink in. Do the ARM program. Get some massive freaking pipe daddies. Have a great day. Peace.